Clark versus Binum.
Filed a motion requesting a modification in parenting time in this matter. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And were the statements in that motion true and accurate when you filed it?
Yeah.
They still remain true and accurate?
Yes.
All right. Let's start with, what is your current order for parenting time?
3 weekends a month for Mr. Binham and 10 weeks during the summer. So I get 1 weekend during the school year and 3 weeks during the summer.
So during July 23rd, or on July 23rd of 2020, you entered into a stipulated order, right?
Correct.
And essentially that was to accommodate Jazz's school. And Jazz is the minor child, is that right?
Yeah.
How old is Jazz?
She will be 6 in August, so she's 5.
Okay, so she's 5. So she attended kindergarten last year, right? And that, where was that kindergarten at?
Lenawee Christian.
And where is Lenawee Christian located?
Adrian, Michigan.
Had Jazz been familiar with Lenawee Christian prior to kindergarten?
Yes, she was.
How was she familiar?
She was in preschool 2 years prior to that. She would go to preschool the week that I had her.
All right, Aaron.
So
Again,
Ms. Clark, your microphone is breaking up, and we're not necessarily picking up everything that you're saying.
yeah, you really need to make sure that that is close to you as best you can, because the further away you get, the harder it is to hear you. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not a volume problem. It's your microphone is cutting out. So maybe if you stay close to the computer, it won't do that.
Okay.
So Jazz has been there for approximately 3 years now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Through daycare or pre-kindergarten and then kindergarten.
Correct.
Okay. And you arranged for the new parenting time schedule in which you have 1 weekend during the school year and Mr. Binham has 3 weekends, and then Jazz is with you for the most of the school year. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And then he's to return on Monday morning to school.
Correct.
Okay. And in exchange for that, he has 10 weeks of summer and some extra break times. I won't get into the specifics, but the order speaks for itself. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
And you're asking the court to modify that parenting time to what?
To every other weekend during the school year and week on, week off during the summer.
And what about the return to school on Monday?
To have her return to school on Sunday.
Well, she wouldn't return to school on Sunday, right?
Well, Sunday to me. Okay, to me.
So the modification request is, instead of return to school on Monday morning, return to your home on Sunday evening, right?
Correct.
Where do you live?
I live in Tecumseh, Michigan.
How far away from school is that?
About 15 minutes.
And then where does Mr. Binham live?
In Jackson, Michigan.
How far away from school is that?
About 40 minutes.
Okay. And so you're asking to return to your house on Sunday night rather than school on Monday morning. What time does school start?
On Mondays, it's late start, so it starts at 9 o'clock.
And what time does it start during the week?
8 o'clock.
Will that be true next year, even beyond where we're at with whatever the COVID arrangements were for Lenawee Christian?
Yes.
Okay. So we're not expecting a change next fall?
No.
Okay. So your modification request is essentially every other weekend rather than 3 weekends, approximately 3 weekends a month, and then Sunday night instead of Monday, and then divide the summer rather than 10 weeks.
Correct.
So that's a 4-week change of the summer and a 3 per month weekend change on Sunday nights and 1 weekend or a Saturday night on a normal month. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So you're asking for 4 days per month during the school year and week on, week off during the summer. So what brought you to be concerned about the current parenting time arrangement?
Well, when Jazzy first started kindergarten, it was brought to my attention that Jasmine needed extra.
All right, pause, Ms. Clark. Couple things, okay? One, your mic is not picking up very well.
Okay.
All right.
Let me suggest something. We can turn your volume off on your computer and you can talk by telephone. Will that work?
Certainly.
Because your computer microphone is breaking up. It's going to take us forever to get through this testimony the way that it's working. Let me try. Can I have your phone number so that I can dial you in and have you speak by phone?
Sorry about that, Your Honor. That's partly my psychological infallibility. I didn't know what I was doing, pressing the buttons.
Okay. Why don't you ask your last question again, if you remember what it was?
I think I was asking her, generally speaking, what brought her attention to ask the court to modify the parenting time.
It was brought to my attention that when Jasmine started kindergarten, that she needed extra help in school. They have a program at LCS where they get extra help during school hours to help them get caught up with phonics, math, reading, and other essential things that they need for to be successful. So I enrolled Jasmine in this program.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask a couple questions, so just try to keep it succinct a little bit, okay, Erin? I know you're nervous, but it's
Okay.
Just want to get specific information from you, not a long monologue. So part of that concern was Jasmine's academic scores. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you talk to Mr. Binham about those academic scores?
Yes.
Okay. And what did Mr. Binham and you talk about?
I talked to Mr. Binham about how Jasmine may need extra help. There are other avenues that we can take, whether that be with tutoring after school, with this program that the school offers, but I received no response.
Did she get extra homework and things of that nature on sight words or on phonics? And I mean, she's in kindergarten, so we're talking about fundamental building blocks here.
Correct.
Did you provide those to Mr. Binham?
I did.
So give me an example of a typical week, essentially. So you get information from the school about, she's not doing well on her sight words, for instance. I'll use that as an example. Would you communicate that with Mr. Binham?
Yes.
Typically, how would you communicate that?
Via email.
Did you call him?
Or via email or on phone, depending on our schedules.
Okay. So you would provide this information to him on a weekly basis, a daily basis? How frequent?
A weekly basis. If nothing changed with the sight words or with the letters that she was learning, then there would be no email. Then you continue with the same letters that she started with.
At what point did you become concerned that this was not happening on Mr. Binham's time?
When she was not memorizing, we go over them every day. When she was not memorizing and coming back, and she'd be like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. So then I asked Mr. Binham, have you been doing this with her? This needs to be a consistent thing that she does.
And so was that being done? What was his response?
His response was, well, I forgot, or I don't have time, and I kind of just get brushed off.
Okay. I mean, sometimes he would work with her, but not consistent.
Yeah, he was working at night.
Was Jazzy supposed to write them all out all the time?
Yes, to help with her memorization. If you say it, write it, touch it, feel it, to help her to retain it.
And was he doing that with her?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So she wasn't progressing at the rate the school wanted her or you wanted her. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
What did you do to start assessing, beyond just blaming Mr. Binham? Did you assess other things? Did you look at her medical conditions, her learning capabilities, etc.?
Yes, his work schedule, where he was living.
No. Ms. Clark, I'm talking about, did you assess your daughter Jasmine about these issues? Aside from just blaming Mr. Binham, okay? Did you look at other issues that could be contributing to her not being successful?
Oh, yes, with ADHD and, being a young 5.
So what do you mean by being in the young 5s and ADHD?
Her birthday, is in August, so it's a summer birthday. Studies have shown that some kids that with summer birthdays, they're a young 5, but that doesn't mean that they're not ready.
So she was young for her grade is what you're telling me?
Correct.
But she's academically ready for kindergarten?
Yes, after speaking with the teachers that have been with her, yes, they felt that she was ready.
Did you feel the same way?
That she was ready for kindergarten?
Yes.
At the time when she got enrolled into kindergarten, I did think that she was ready for kindergarten. I didn't realize until she was in kindergarten the help that she needed.
So once you identified that, did the teachers identify that? Did you identify that? How did you find out that Jazz needed some extra help?
The teacher came to me and said, we have this TEACH program, which I'm very familiar with. I think it would be very beneficial for her to enroll. And so after discussing it and having no word, I enrolled her in this program to get her along.
All right, let's unpack that. After discussing and having no word with who?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You made the statement after discussing and having no word. Who are you referencing?
Oh, discussing it with Mr. Binum.
So you called Larry once you found this out talking?
Yeah.
Okay. What was his response? Did he give you anything?
No, I got no response.
How many
It
times?
was okay.
How many times did you try to talk to him about this?
Probably twice.
And then you just made a unilateral decision.
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Then you just made the decision to get her extra help.
Yeah.
What was the extra help?
The extra help is a program called TEACH that she goes twice a week for 15, 30 minutes to work on sequencing, identification of letters. There's several activities that they do with how to incorporate the phonics.
Did you give this information to Mr. Binum?
I did.
To your knowledge, did he address any of these things or talk to the teachers?
No.
To your knowledge, he didn't interact in the school about this in any way?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
To your knowledge, there was no interaction between Mr. Binum and the school about these programs or her problems and struggles?
No.
No, there was no I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be clear. No, he didn't make any contact to your knowledge, is that correct?
No, he did not make any contact with the school, no.
Did you later come to find out that another concern about the parenting time arrangement?
Did I find out about another parenting time concern?
Yes. So as time went on, Paul, did you learn of other concerns about the current parenting time arrangement?
Yes, that Mr. Binum wasn't with Jasmine.
What do you mean?
Mr. Binum was staying in a hotel, apparently for the sake of not to bring COVID home, but he already had COVID in August. And so Jasmine's been has been and was staying with Kimberly Mackey.
Who's Kimberly Mackey?
He has a child with that individual.
To the best of your knowledge, are they currently?
Objection as to what what she would be basing that on, it would be hearsay.
Oh, it would be
We- yeah, we need-
interactions, seeing them together, or otherwise comments made by Binham.
Just a foundation, I think, is what she's asking for, Mr. Stimson. How would she know that?
How would you know, do you have any idea or knowledge or basis of the knowledge of the relationship between Aaron and Larry?
You mean Kim and
Or-
Larry?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at you calling you Aaron, and yes, I'm sorry. How, do you have any firsthand knowledge of Kim and Larry's relationship? Is what I'm asking.
They're on again, off again. Other than that, I don't know.
Why would you qualify it as on again, off?
She has contacted me multiple times
Judge, that's what
before.
I'm objecting
when they
to,
broke
is
up.
what Ms.
Okay.
Mackey and Ms. Clark may have talked about.
All right.
That would be hearsay.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Clark.
Mr. Bynum isn't the source of the information, or unless she's actually witnessed it, it would have to be sourced in hearsay.
Ms. Clark, you understand that you cannot base any information that you're referencing on a out-of-court statement by another person necessarily. So did Mr. Binham, however, did he ever tell you?
Understand.
Did Mr.
Go ahead.
Binham ever talk to you about their relationship, say that they were broken up or together?
No, he doesn't talk to me about those things. No.
Okay, so you don't know what the stability level of the relationship was that would come from anything other than Kim's statements.
Correct.
Okay. Well, were you aware of Mr. Bynum? Mr. Bynum wasn't present then on the weekends? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Can you repeat that?
Mr. Binham wasn't present during the weekends?
No.
How do you know this?
How do I know? Because when I would ask to FaceTime Jasmine, he was not present.
So you physically FaceTime Jasmine and he would never be around.
Correct.
Did you later file a subpoena with his employer to find out what his days of work were?
Yes, I did.
And did you discover he worked most weekends that Jazz was with him?
Yes, I did. I discovered that he was working a lot of hours.
And that, in fact, he wasn't living in his apartment either. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where was he staying?
At a hotel.
How many times he was living in a hotel?
How many times?
I'm sorry, let me rephrase the question. You discovered he was littering every day at a hotel.
Yes. Yes.
So much so that he terminated his lease agreement. Is that correct?
Correct.
I point to you plaintiff's exhibits 5, 4, and 5. I'm sorry, 3, 4, and 5. Do you have those in front of you, Ms. Clark?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Plaintiff's exhibits 3, 4, and 5. Are they in front of you on the desk there?
Yes.
These have been previously submitted to and admitted. Is that okay? Are these the records that you've discovered confirming that Mr. Binham
Yes,
wasn't with his
these are.
daughter?
Yes.
They demonstrate that he worked almost every weekend and that he did not stay where she stayed, but in a hotel. Is that correct?
Correct.
Are you aware that Jazz was not with him at the hotel?
When I would ask him, when this came to my discovery, when I asked him, it was none of my business.
Did you when you FaceTime Jazz, was she at a hotel?
When I FaceTime Jazz, no, she was not at a hotel.
Where was she?
Oh, at Miss Mackey's house.
So rather than being home with you, she was with a girlfriend of Mr. Binham's.
Correct.
Wasn't spending time with Mr. Binham, is that correct?
That is correct.
And he wasn't spending time with her.
Correct.
Did he bring her to school on Mondays?
No.
Again, Judge, well, never mind. Go ahead.
Is that a result of the work records?
Correct.
Meaning he couldn't physically have been at work and also driven her to school.
Correct.
There were occasions he did take her to school. Is that fair?
Occasions, yes.
But the majority of the time suggests that he did not.
Correct.
How did he work on her sight words? Do you know?
I don't know.
How did he work on her assignments from the learning center?
That I don't know.
How did he, if he was at work during these weekends, work on any of her scholastic achievement?
That I don't know.
Do you know if she spent any real meaningful time over there during those weekends?
Judge, I'm going to object as to a lack of foundation.
Withdraw. You're asking the court to change that Sunday to Monday overnight and partially to this information that we discovered. Is that correct?
Correct.
What is the driving factor in all of this for you?
The driving factor for this is that she can be home. She can, get ready for the school day for the next day. She can sleep in her own bed. She can relax for a moment and know that she is home and she is safe and she is okay.
To your knowledge, has Mr. Binham's living conditions changed since we filed this motion?
That I am not aware of.
Do you know where Mr. Binham currently resides?
Can you repeat that?
Do you know where he lives now?
No, I do not.
Do you know where you've been informed that where he lives?
The last I knew he lived was in the hotel or at his mom's.
Or at his mom's. Is it your understanding he lives at his mom's now?
From what I know is that he's supposed to be at his mom's.
Does anybody else live at his mom's?
Yeah, his sister, brother-in-law, and their 2 kids.
And then his mother.
And then his mom.
Do you know have you ever been to his mother's house?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Have you ever been to his mother's house?
I have, yes.
How many bedrooms are in the house?
Just 2.
So there's 2 bedrooms in the house?
Yes.
There's his mother living there?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
His sibling and their spouse living there?
Yes.
They have 2 children also?
Yes, 2 boys.
And now Mr. Binham's living there?
Yes.
And he's proposing that it's also for Jazz to live there.
That is correct.
Is the basement finishable, that it's appropriate for Jazz to be down there?
The basement is finished, but it's not appropriate for a room.
Why not?
It's an older home. There's not an egress window to be able to even put a room in.
So it's not going to be sufficient code-wise to make a bedroom out of it.
Correct.
Do you know if Mr. Binham's changed his employment recently?
The last time I knew, which was 2 weeks ago, he quit his job.
So he quit his job with the Department of Corrections?
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge that you have firsthand knowledge of why or how?
No.
Do you know if he was quit or fired?
That I don't know.
Did Mr. Binham tell you that he was changing schedules?
No, he did not. Actually, how I found out was when I took Jasmine to the doctor for a med check, the insurance didn't work. And so that's, I texted Mr. Binham and said, hey, did your insurance card number change? Because sometimes that happens. And he said, oh, by the way, I don't work there anymore. I quit.
So he didn't update the insurance or let you know any of that information?
No.
Did he say where he's working now?
No.
How would you characterize the communicative relationship between you and Mr. Binham?
It's touch and go at times. Sometimes we have our moments where we can actually co-parent. Other times, we disagree. Mostly, I don't really get a response, so I have to do what's best for Jazz.
So, that's fair. So, Mr. Binham's made some accusations that you don't really communicate with him, you just do what you want. Is that how you would characterize it?
Repeat that.
So Mr. Binham's made some accusations that you don't really communicate, you just dictate and do what you want. Was that how you would characterize your communicative style?
No, that's not how I would characterize the communication.
So how would you characterize it?
I would characterize it as there are times where I need an answer and I can't get a hold of him, or I can't get him to respond to certain things, or he just blows me off. So I do try my best. Of course, I'm not perfect, to communicate with Mr. Binham, to co-parent with Mr. Binham. Sometimes it is a little bit more difficult too.
But you think it's in Jasmine's best interest to still co-parent with Mr. Binham, right?
Correct.
Right. You've never asked for a change of custody, and you're not asking for a change of custody.
No.
You're merely just asking to modify parenting time to be more accommodating to what Jazz's needs are.
Yes, that is correct.
Did you talk to Mr. Binham about the medical diagnosis of ADHD?
I did, actually, I did.
Can you explain?
I talked to him. Oh, sorry.
Clark, before, let me set that. I just want that, and then I'll ask you to fill it in. Okay. Explain how you talked to him, when you talked to him, and then ultimately how you ended up with a diagnosis. Okay.
Okay. So the school came to me and said, I know
Judge, I'm going to
ADHD
ask that
runs.
we be specific about who, I'm assuming there was a person that came to her, who that person was.
That's fair.
Okay.
Since schools don't talk.
I understand. Miss Metzler, her kindergarten teacher, came to me and said, Jasmine is struggling with focusing. She's, sometimes lollygagging in the hall. She's disruptive. She's not listening, and she knows that there is ADHD that runs in my family. So, she said it wouldn't hurt to get her tested. I said, okay. So I called Mr. Binham and said, hey, this is what I said. I know you want me to say Miss Metzler, but I said the school came to me and said that we need to get her tested for ADHD. I'll start the process to get her tested. Okay, no problem. This is on a phone call. Okay, no problem. So I proceed to move forward with getting her tested and got the diagnosis. I then called Larry and told him, hey, I got the diagnosis. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. So you got a diagnosis. From whom?
Mm-hmm.
Who gave you the diagnosis?
I got a diagnosis from Dr. Treelord, her pediatrician. She did the testing.
So Dr. Treloar and Tecumseh was her Jasmine's pediatrician. And
Yes.
She did the testing and came up with a diagnosis.
Correct.
And then you got a hold of Larry and you may continue with the process, please.
Right, because I didn't want to put her on medication right away because I was a little hesitant with her age. And, I know that medicine is not the end all be all. I know that counseling and parents on board is, helps also. So I wanted to express to him, I don't know, I'm a little uncomfortable about it, but, the doctor wants to try it and see, what do you think? And he just said, okay. So I went along with what the doctor wanted to try her on a low dose of a medication, which I don't know if she takes it on his time, but on my time, she's done phenomenal with it.
So she does a pretty good job of staying consistent with her low dose ADH meds. What is the med?
It's Ritalin extended release.
So it's required to be taken regularly to make sure that the distribution levels are correct.
Yes, that is correct.
When did she start this?
She started this
Ballpark, I don't need an exact date.
it was back in May.
Of 2020 or 2021?
2021.
Okay, so about a month and a half ago.
Yes.
And how has she responded?
Yeah, she's responded really good. The impulsive, the stopping and focusing, like, is this a good choice or is this a bad choice? Like, she's really done better with her sight words, memorizing her sight words better. Just being able to sit down and have, a conversation, and, she's doing much better with picking up her toys. Also, like, you ask her, she's not all over the place, like, oh, I got to pick up my toys, so let me do it. So task-wise, she's doing much, much better.
It's a little bit late for you to see an adjustment in perhaps exactly her school behavior, or did it affect her school?
When she did start the medication, the teachers did notice that she was able to sit down and not disrupt the class as much. She was following directions better. She was not lollygagging in the hallway.
Well, let's talk about lollygagging in the hallway. Mr. Binham has proposed Defendant's Exhibit number 7, which is some school records, right?
Yes.
And in those school records, they're highlighted as tardies and absences, okay?
Yes.
So if Jazz was tardy because she was lollygagging, is there a difference between, I'm sorry, let me ask you this way. Is there a difference between her lollygagging and being marked tardy, or you not getting, or Mr. Binham not getting her to school on time and being marked tardy?
Yes, there is a difference.
What's the difference?
The parents physically have to go in and sign them in.
So if you were late bringing her to school, you would have had a record that indicated that you had to sign her into school. Is that correct?
Correct.
We have a new participant here on, maybe, or my screen just adjusted and there's a Carol.
Oh, she's been there. That's my court court clerk.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just maybe noticed it. Apologize. The second, what's been proposed is that the Defendant's Exhibit number 7. What kind of record is this?
This record would be a student's attendance record that shows that she was absent because of being quarantined, and that she was tardy a few times because she was lollygagging in the hallway.
So this is mostly her not paying attention in the hallway and getting to her homeroom on time.
Correct.
Have you addressed this with Jazz?
I have addressed this with Jazz. Yes.
Have you spoken to Mr. Binham about her lollygagging?
I did mention it to him, like, hey, you know, she, you know, she's not getting to class, like she needs to get into class. We both can see these records online.
Are you overly concerned with the lollygagging parties?
Am I overly concerned about the lollygagging?
No. Yes, that's what I'm asking.
I'm not overly concerned. I mean, she's a social butterfly, so I kind of know it's going to come. And with her having the ADHD, I'm not surprised either. I mean, I'm concerned, like, you need to get to class, but I think it'll come. You know, we just stay on her, it'll come.
These September absences, you said they were COVID related?
Yes.
What, can you explain, please?
Mr. Binum had COVID, so Jasmine had to be quarantined.
Where did she come?
At my house.
Did Mr. Binum tell you that he had COVID? Or how did you discover that she was exposed to COVID during Mr. Binum's time?
I found out that he had COVID because I received a phone call from the school that Mr. Binum called the school to inform them.
So he didn't call you.
And then I needed to come and pick up my kids.
He didn't call you, he contacted the school.
Correct.
Does Jasmine ever seem to be affected by the commute to school on Monday mornings?
Judge, again, I'm going to object unless there is some foundation for this question.
Well, Your Honor, Ms. Clark is certainly able as a mother to understand and read her child and see if she's tired or affected just by looking at her and interacting.
She doesn't see her on Monday mornings.
She's not there on Monday mornings when she's at school.
She sees her when
If
she gets
Mr.
home.
Binum's, well, I guess she can comment on how she appeared when she comes home from school. I mean, not how that pertains to how she was when she got to school. That's a bit of a stretch, but I can certainly hear that.
Or the other question would be whether there's school records associated with her behavioral marks by her school record that would be relevant to that. I mean, there's a million different ways.
There are no like behavioral marks, but the principal, Miss Hartwig.
Objection, Judge.
Yeah, you got to stop.
Yeah, you can't tell us what the principal told you. Only the principal could testify to that.
Okay.
So Aaron, did you witness anything from Jazzy when she comes back from her dad's?
When she would come home after school? Yes, I would. She would be distraught. She would be upset. Just exhausted.
When you say distraught and upset, can you assess why or how or what was the root cause?
She was upset because she didn't get to see her dad, and or that that she was worried that she wasn't going to come back to me.
So can you tell if she's over it? I mean, she's 5 years old. I've raised 4 kids myself. I can tell when my kids are tired and you can tell when they're just overly tired. Are you able to assess in any way, shape, or form if she's tired, overly tired? Are these concerns that are a result of fatigue? Are they a result of anxiety or distress? Can you tell us, her mom, a general sense of what's causing some of this?
Overly tired. When she comes back, it's like she hasn't slept in her own bed for so long. She gets grumpy, of course. There's that transition period also from dad to mom that happens. But I just have to reassure her that we both love her and everything is going to be okay. And now she's home.
How would you qualify her the impact on the traveling on her, the impact on Jazzy? Would it be burdensome, not burdensome? It doesn't have an effect?
Oh, I think it does have an effect.
Would you say that the travel overly
There
burdensome?
were times where it was there were times that it was time to do the exchange, and she would just scream in my arms, I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
Is that a parenting time exchange, or is that because of the travel? I'm asking more specifically about the travel.
I don't know if it was a travel or if it was a parenting time exchange, but when you have to hold your child and they're screaming at that age, it's a lot. I'm sorry.
So
I'm good.
I'm going to be a bit callous here, Ms. Clark, and I appreciate, and I'm conducive of the concern, and you're really trying to do what's best for Jasmine. But what I'm really trying to find out is, do you think that this current arrangement is burdensome?
I think the travel has, the travel of going back and forth, it has an impact on her. I think, not being able to see her friends and do things with her friends because there's this group of girls that she is clicked with, that has an impact on her also.
Can you give examples of when her father would keep her from her friends or not allow her to have access to her friends?
When there was a few times that gymnastics fell on his parenting time because of no school, and Mr. Binham didn't take her.
So she is signed up for a gymnastics class like a lot of 5-year-olds are, right?
Right, yes.
And I mean, it's 5-year-old gymnastics. This isn't the World Cup here or USA Olympics.
No, it's not. No, it's not the World Cup, but she does enjoy it and it lets her express herself.
Well, especially with her ADHD, that ability to express and let out that energy is rather important.
Yes.
But Mr. Binham won't accommodate that if it falls on his time?
No.
Has there been tutoring offered this summer?
Yes. When parent-teacher conferences were, they suggested, I asked Ms. Metzler, her teacher, if, do you think that she would need tutoring? And she said, oh, yes, definitely. So she'll keep retaining what she has learned. So I presented it to Mr. Binham, we can find a place in Jackson, but I think that she needs, additional tutoring for the summer. And then the school offered a 2-day-a-week on Zoom free reading program. I forwarded the email to Mr. Binham and, said, hey, I think this would be really beneficial. Can I go ahead and sign her up? And he stated to me in an email, no, I don't think that that'll be beneficial. I have plans for her.
What are those plans?
I don't know.
So he's never actually articulated a plan for her summer education?
No.
And you provided an option via Zoom?
Yes.
Any reason why he would say no?
I don't have an answer for that.
Are there any other concerns you have about the parenting time arrangement as it relates to Jasmine?
The inconsistency.
What do you mean by that?
The inconsistency of, you know, which house is she going to be at, or who's going to be watching her, or is dad going to be there?
And that's based upon his living arrangements changing multiple times. Is that fair to say?
Say that again, I apologize.
Is that a result of living arrangements?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that Mr. Binham has frequently failed to exercise parenting time by not being present during parenting time?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that prior to this most recent revelation, quitting his job, and at the time we filed this petition and heard the motion, he was not able to reasonably, exercise his parenting time because of his employment?
That is correct.
You don't know what his current employment status is.
I do not.
You inquired about it?
I have not, because normally when I ask questions about what's going on, I get told it's not my business.
You've asked the court to modify the summer parenting time from 10 weeks throughout the course of the summer by Mr. Binham to a week on, week off schedule, which is essentially 6 weeks and 6 weeks. Is that correct?
Correct.
What's the basis for that modification?
So that Jazz can get summer tutoring, that she can get the extra help that she needs on the weeks that I have her. So that way she doesn't lose the progress that she has made.
Have you ever seen an effect on Jazz when she's away from either of you for more than 7 days?
Oh yeah, she gets very, am I going to see you again? Are you going to FaceTime me? Am I going to talk to you? Like, you have to reassure her, constantly reassure her.
Anxious would be another way of describing that.
What'd you say?
Anxious would be another way of describing that.
Yeah, she gets very anxious, very.
And do you think that more frequent interactions, as in a week on, week off, rather than 10-week blocks, would be more beneficial to her?
Absolutely.
Has Mr. Binham proposed what the 10 weeks are for the summer?
No.
Have you requested weeks for the summer?
I have requested weeks for the summer.
And what was the response?
That I only get 2 weeks during the summer, and that he is supposed to get all 10 weeks at a time.
So it's Mr. Binham's intention to exercise 10 consecutive weeks.
Yes.
Do you think that's what's best for Jasmine?
Absolutely not.
Did you ask for any financial recourse associated with this petition?
As far as her TEACH program?
As far as contributions towards education, towards tutoring, towards extracurricular, or child support in general?
I did ask for help for the TEACH program, and was told that he could not afford it. So since then, no, I haven't asked for anything.
Do you know what his approximate gross income was from 2020?
From the records that I had, about 80,000.
And does he pay child support currently?
Nope.
But he wouldn't contribute towards her extra tutoring requirements.
Correct.
Are you asking the court, and it's my understanding you're not asking the court for financial contribution?
No, I am not.
This is purely just about what's best for Jazz and not financial recalculation.
Correct.
Is there anything else, Ms. Clark, that you think is necessary to add?
No, not to my knowledge.
Well, okay. Let me move on to one more topic, because I am sure Ms. Dinky is going to bring it up when she cross-examines you, Ms. Clark. You are married currently?
Right. Yes, I am.
And you've been married to the same man for how long?
4 years.
Now, like all marriages, there's good years and bad years. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
I mean, has there been times when you guys have had troubles in your marriage?
Yes, about 2.5 years ago, we did. We separated.
For how long?
4 months.
Did you still talk? Did you still communicate? Did you still go out on dates?
Yes, after we were going to counseling and working on things, yes, we started, and then I moved back in.
That would have been in 2019.
Correct.
So almost a year and change before the last order issued.
Correct.
So that would have been dealt with, and any concerns about that would have been dealt with in the most recent order.
Correct.
Okay. No further questions from Ms. Clark at this time.
Questions, Ms. Dinky?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Clark, you said on direct that you were asking during the school year to take 4 overnights from Mr. Binham. Is that right?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, you were breaking up.
On direct, you said that you were taking 4 overnights during the school year from Mr. Binham. But it would be 5 overnights, wouldn't it? It would be a 3-day weekend plus 2 Sunday nights. Is that right?
If you say so, I haven't done the math yet.
Okay, let's do it now. He currently has 3 weekends out of every 4 during the school year. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you want to do every other weekend?
Yes, that is correct.
So he would lose a weekend,
That is correct.
and his weekends are 3 nights.
Yes,
And you also want to change and so that he loses his Sunday nights on his 2 remaining weekends. Is that right?
correct.
So that would be 5 overnights on the average month.
Yes,
And during the summer, you want him to go from 10 weekends to 6 weekends. Is that, or it's 10 weeks to 6 weeks. Is that right?
that is correct.
And that would be 28 days. 4 weeks times 7.
Yep,
Okay. So we have 9 months, we're losing 5 days. And then during the summer, we're losing 28 days. Is that right?
yes,
So, and I recognize there's some holidays and other things in there. But basically you're asking that he lose 73 days a year of parenting time.
I have to object to that question and foundation, Your Honor, that assumes facts, not in evidence. What Ms. Dinky's particularly doing is extrapolating that every single day of the month during the school year is a full 4 calendar weekend school year without a myriad of holidays and vacations and Thanksgivings and Christmas breaks and spring breaks that are associated with that. So while I get where she's going with this, there's a reduction, a fairly substantial, if she wants to call it a substantial reduction. I think to qualify a specific number on it is somewhat irrelevant. It's probably more than 50, but less than 75.
Well, let's say it's definitely more than a month and maybe closer to 2 months of parenting time. Right?
I mean, it's only a month. I got 32. If you take 28 plus 5.
5 each month for 9 months.
Okay.
So 73, even if we subtract 13 for Mr. Stimpson's holiday time, which you both get because you alternate all the holidays, we're still talking
Correct.
about 2 months of parenting time.
During the school year?
For the entire year.
Or all together?
Yeah. Out of 12 months of parenting time, he's losing 2 months.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't think that's substantial?
No, I do not. Not when he's been not exercising his parenting time.
Okay. Let's talk about school for a bit. Do you know what age
Okay.
a child, what the birth date is, the cutoff is for going to kindergarten?
The cutoff is September or something.
And your daughter's
September 1st, I believe.
September 1st. And your daughter's birthday is August.
17th.
So she just barely made it under the wire.
Objection.
Mhm.
It's argumentative, and I mean, it's a little bit colorful, but
Do you
I
think,
think it's a fair question.
do you think that the problems that she's having with school are in part because she probably should have waited another year?
Yes and no.
And in fact, there was a suggestion by one of her specialists at school that perhaps she should get held back.
It's not special ed, it's tutoring.
Hold on. Let her finish her question first. Go ahead and ask your question again. Ms.
I
Jakey.
said one of the specialists that she works with at school, not that she's in special education.
Yes.
Did you and Mr. Binham meet with the school to discuss holding her back a year?
Well, no, not together. We did not. The parent-teacher conference was back in November. He did not attend that one. There was another one in January. Mind you, we both get the links that we can set up our parent-teacher conferences on our own. He did not attend that one either. So at that point, the school talked to me about it. And we sat down at parent-teacher conference and went through line by line.
In January, you talked about holding her back?
We did discuss it, that if is it a possibility? And at that time, they said no.
Did
She's
you
progressing.
Did you get a recommendation in May that she should get held back?
Did I get a recommendation in June? Yes, I did.
And at that point, did you and Mr. Binham sit down with the school to talk about it?
We didn't sit down together. We had our separate meetings and then we talked about it together.
In fact, you went in and met with the school and didn't tell Mr. Binham you were doing that, did you?
I mean, it's no different than him going and talking to the school and not telling me.
He contacted you about, let's set something up with the school, and that's when he found out you'd been into the school. Isn't that right?
That is not correct.
Okay. Did you get contacted by Mr. Binham about Jasmine and Ms. Mackey testing positive for COVID? So you needed to quarantine Jazz so that she could get tested? I mean, not Jasmine, but Ms. Mackey and her daughter.
Did I get contact of that? No, I don't recall.
By Mr. Binham.
No, I do not recall.
So what you're testifying to is the first you knew that your daughter potentially had been exposed to someone with COVID while she was with her dad was after the school contacted you.
Correct.
You had had no contact from Mr. Binham.
About Miss Mackey? No.
About COVID, Jazz being exposed to COVID.
About him being exposed, he never contacted me. The school contacted me.
The ADHD diagnosis, you took your daughter to her pediatrician
I did.
down in Ohio?
I did. Yes, that's where her practice. Well, she has one in Tecumseh and one in Ohio.
Oh, I'm sorry. So does she see your pediatrician in Tecumseh then?
Either place she sees them when she has an opening.
Okay. And you said that Mr. Binham had cleared you getting her assessed, and then you told him about the results of the appointment.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You testified that you had talked to Mr. Binham about wanting to get her assessed, and he said that was okay. And then you went ahead and set up the appointment and had her tested, and then told him what the doctor had prescribed.
Correct.
Did you tell him ahead of time when the appointment was scheduled so he could participate?
No, because at that time I didn't know that he wasn't working. So because of his work schedule, there was no way that he would be able to make it. And nor did he ever indicate to me that he even wanted to go.
You understand he was working at night, right?
I mean, if you count 4 a.m. to noon as nighttime, sure.
Okay. And you could not get an appointment in the afternoon?
Not with my work schedule, no.
Okay. So you couldn't take time off at your job. He couldn't take time off at his job.
No.
Okay. Does the pediatrician have his information so that he can get information directly from them?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. He can have access.
Any idea why they would say they have no record of his name or any information about him?
Objection calls for speculation.
No, that I don't know.
Okay.
All right, well, wait a minute. I think it's a fair question. It doesn't, if she has an idea why they might say that, then she can say that. She can answer. If she doesn't, she can say she doesn't have any idea. I think it's fair for cross.
That I do not know. I know that when I go to check her in to register, they ask, is Mr. Binham? I said, yep, and they say, okay. Like, I don't know why there's no records or anything.
Okay. You mentioned that you work. Where do you work?
I work in Farmington Hills.
Do it for whom? Doing what?
I'm the director of nursing.
For whom?
Farmington Hills Inn.
I'm sorry, you cut out. Farmington Hills what?
Farmington Hills Inn.
INN, like a hotel inn?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a facility?
It is a facility. It's an assisted living.
It's an assisted living facility and you're the director of nursing.
That is correct.
Okay. And how many hours a week do you work?
No more than 40, less than 10. It depends on what my week looks like and if I can work from home. I can flex my hours. I work no weekends, no holidays.
And do you, how long does it take you to get to work?
About an hour.
Round trip or each way?
Each way.
Okay. And prior to COVID, were you working from home or were you going to work at Farmington Hills?
No, I was not working at Farmington Hills. I was working at the Washtenaw County Jail as a nurse.
Oh, I'm sorry. You've changed jobs?
I did.
Okay. So when did you get the director of nursing position?
I was working both. So back in March is when I went full-time at Farmington Hills Inn.
Okay. And how much will you be making a year?
I don't know how that's relevant right now.
You don't get to decide that. Just answer the question.
I make $27 an hour.
Okay. Working 40 hours a week, or it varies? What time do you normally leave for work in the morning?
It depends.
On a normal work day, what time would you leave for work?
Probably about 7 in the morning.
So you're not taking Jasmine to school?
I do. If I have Jazz, I take Jazz to school.
So on a normal work day, Tuesday through Friday, you don't go to work at 7 a.m.
It's hard for me to answer this question because I don't have a normal work day. So it's what are you asking? What I got hired in as, or what it is right now?
Well, has it changed because your job title changed, or has it changed because of COVID?
It's changed because my job title has changed and I have more flexibility.
Okay. So when did your job title change?
My job title changed in March 30th.
Of this year?
Of this year.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And as director of nursing, you can do that remotely?
Yeah.
Are you expected to be there at all during the week?
There are times where I do have to go into the facility, yes.
Once a week, once a month, 3 times a week?
About once or twice a week.
Once or twice a week. Okay. So once or twice a week, you go in at 7 a.m. and you leave at what time?
4.
And you get home then about 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay. And the rest of the time you said that you're working from home.
Correct.
Who picks Jasmine up from school?
My nanny.
Okay. How many nannies has Jasmine had?
2.
Did she know the nannies prior to them starting to take care of her?
Yes, before they started taking care of her, yes.
Were they friends? How long had she known them before they became her nanny?
Probably about a month because I wanted them in the home to get acclimated with Jasmine while I was there.
Does anyone else take care of Jasmine while you're working?
No.
Your husband doesn't take care of Jasmine?
Depending on his work hours, but no.
Okay. So maybe I've got his name wrong. Do you have my exhibits there in front of you?
Which exhibit?
You do have the stack there?
I do, yes.
Okay. Let's look at exhibit 10. Oh, I'm sorry. Exhibit
From 2
11.
years ago?
Can you take a look at exhibit 11? This is January of 2020.
How do you know this is January of 2020?
Because I see a date, January 14, 2020, 11:20 a.m. on exhibit 11.
Oh, I must have missed it. Hold on 1 second.
Is this, is this an email between you and Mr. Binham?
I would assume so, yes.
It indicates that you're going to be at work, but that Ryan can bring the kids to celebrate this party.
Correct, because I got called into work.
Who is Ryan?
My husband.
So he does take care of Jasmine.
I mean, he's my husband, yes.
Okay, well, a minute ago you said that no, he doesn't. So I'm just trying to clean that up.
Well, it's a vague, I mean, it's a vague, like, does he do the care all the time? No, but when I get called into work, is he there for me? Yes.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just trying to ask the question. You're the one who said she has unstable caregivers. Can you take a look at number 13? Do you see that text message? April 30th of 2020, Ryan is going to be doing school with Jasmine. You're going to be at work. Is that right?
That is correct, because we had a COVID issue going on.
Okay. What does Jasmine call Ryan?
For the longest time, she called him Ronnie.
What
But
does she
just
call him
recently,
now?
she'll call him Dad.
Okay, so she's not his biological dad,
No,
but he plays a father role in her life.
absolutely.
And certainly she's able to understand that you can love and have two dads, right?
Absolutely. And
You've
she'll say
made-
that I have two dads.
You've made a big thing in your motion about the fact that she calls Ms. Mackey mommy sometimes.
Objection. I mean,
That is correct.
Your Honor,
Hold on,
a big thing is very subjective by Ms. Dinky. Did she make a statement that this is something that has been happening? Sure, but that's not facts that are in evidence about a big thing.
It's been in every single pleading and amended
Not in this
pleading we've
pleading here.
received.
it's a fair question. Go ahead, Ms. Danke.
Ms. Mackey is the mother of Jasmine's half sister, is that right?
That is correct.
Have you told,
Say that again. I missed the connection there.
so Jasmine has a half sister whose mother is Ms. Mackey, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Jasmine, as you've already testified, spends a lot of time with Ms. Mackey and with her sister.
That is correct.
And presumably her sister calls Ms. Mackey mommy because she is her mommy.
Yes.
Have you told Jasmine that she can't call Ms. Mackey mommy?
I have not told Jasmine that she can not call Miss Mackey mommy. What I have said, because there have been fights between me and my 5-year-old of who her real mom is, that I am her mom, her real mom, and that is your stepmom. That's where that has come from. Since then, I don't know any further.
Why has it been important to you to tell the judge in your pleadings that she calls her mommy? Is that a problem?
Because I think that it's disrespectful.
Is it disrespectful to let her call your husband daddy?
And I do correct her.
So you think that's disrespectful too?
To call my husband daddy? Yes, because her dad is Larry and she's still figuring out, you know, the ins and the outs of going back and forth and, you know, having separated parents.
But we just talked about, and I thought you agreed that kids can understand that they have two daddies, two mommies, and that's okay.
It depends on if you can co-parent efficiently, then yes. But if not, then no.
Okay. Does your mother also take care of Jasmine?
I mean, very rarely, but no.
But yes, very rarely, but yes.
I mean, like maybe twice a year. So I wouldn't even count that as taking care of her.
Okay. So she doesn't have a close relationship with your mom?
She does, but she doesn't stay overnight. Like my mom will normally come to my house.
Okay. Did Jasmine go with you when you left your husband and were staying in the apartment?
Say that again.
Did Jasmine go with you when you left your husband and you were staying in the apartment?
Yes.
Okay. So that would have been disruptive to her in terms of her schedule and who was in her life?
Your Honor, I guess I'm going to have to object to testimony that's associated with anything that is predating the last custody order in this case, which was July of 2020. This has been all handled on a prior custody order and would not be able to be considered in these types of proceedings. So anything prior to July 23rd of 2020, particularly whether there was a separation 2.5 years ago, has no bearing and can't be used as evidence on a hearing post July 23rd, 2020, because there is a custody order.
Judge, that's a misstatement of the law. Van Vliet makes it very clear that when the court is looking at, is there a substantial change in circumstance or proper cause shown to address the issues of custody, you're bound by the time period from the last custody order. But when the court is assessing best interest factors, let's say that one parent has an ongoing mental health issue. You can't consider that because that mental health issue existed prior to the last custody order? Of course you can. And when the court is weighing the serious nature of Mr. Binham's moves, I think the court, in order to look at that in context, has to be aware that there have been other moves and other disruptions in relationships. So I think that is all relevant with respect to this issue.
We're not talking about a continuing mental health issue here, Your Honor. We're talking about whether or not there was a blip in a marriage almost 3 years ago. And to suggest that that somehow is tantamount to evidence necessary to make a determination on, consistency in a relationship is nothing compared to what has been demonstrated by Mr. Binham's inconsistency in relationships. So those all have occurred since the last order. None of this has occurred since the last order.
I'm going to allow the question, but obviously, given the remoteness, how much weight I give it is probably not very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Clark, is there a reason that Jasmine comes to school in the winter with no socks on? Does she have an allergy or a problem with that, with wearing socks, something like that?
Well, sometimes in the morning when you're trying to get a 5-year-old ready, you pick your battles. And whether that be, fine, don't wear the socks, just wear the boots, or fine, wear that outfit that doesn't match because we got to get out the door. Sometimes you just pick your battles. I don't have an explanation for that other than she probably didn't want to wear them.
And it sounds like you did the assessment for ADHD. You've described some of the problems that you had was her picking up her toys, staying on task at your house, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Does Jasmine continue to take Ritalin during the summer when she's out of school?
Yes.
Why does she need that extra help with her focus during the summer?
Sometimes we can be, or she can be very impulsive, writing on the walls, cutting up Barbie's hair, cutting her own hair, even though me and Mr. Binham have told her multiple times not to cut your hair, put the scissors down, that stop and, oh, is this a good choice or a bad choice? The Ritalin, the medication helps her focus and hone in on, oh, I need to make sure I'm making a good choice or a choice.
The court order says that you get the second full weekend of the month unless otherwise agreed upon between the parties. And if that second full weekend is a 3-day weekend from school, then you, Mr. Binham gets that and you get a different weekend. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Take a look at defendant's proposed exhibit 18. That's an email from you to Mr. Binham saying that because of Thanksgiving coming up at the end of the month, you're going to take this weekend as your weekend. November 6th is your weekend. Do you see that email?
Correct.
So
I
if
do
you
see that
normally
email.
get the second weekend of the month, why would Thanksgiving be at the end of the month be relevant to you picking a different weekend?
I believe that weekend we had something going on with my family. And so that week worked better with my grandparents who live in Arkansas.
Okay. I'm not saying that this was a question. I'm seeing that this was simply a statement. You were just telling him you were taking that weekend.
Well, yeah, I was opening up communication.
Okay. So you didn't ask to switch it, you just took it.
I mean, I emailed him, opened up communication, and was expecting a response back and got no response. So I must have been okay.
And he does accommodate you wanting to have Jasmine because your grandfather's not doing well, or to see family from out of state, that kind of thing, doesn't he?
That was one time, and that was recent.
Okay, but last year.
Last year? I thought we were talking about recent.
Okay, I'm looking at November 10th. You said you had family coming in from Arkansas, so you wanted to have her then.
November 10th of last year. This email is dated November 3rd of last year.
I apologize, November
So
3rd, not
what
November
email
10th.
are you talking about?
So November 3rd of last year, you said you had family
Okay.
coming in from Arkansas. So you took a different weekend, is that right?
That is correct.
And then are you also referencing that just recently he also allowed you to have some extra time with her because your grandfather was not doing well?
Well, it wasn't just because of my grandfather. It's because of how the holidays fell on each other's weeks or weekends.
Okay,
So we normally, if I normally just say, hey, let's switch this holiday with this holiday because it falls on your week with her during the summer or during the school year. So then that way it's an easier transition instead of having to get Jazz at 9 a.m. in the morning to only be with that parent for part of the day and then questioning why she has to go back to the other parent. So it just makes it easier to switch. But I go to him to switch that.
and defendant's proposed exhibit 19 is a similar exchange where you're telling him what weekend you want. This time he pushes back and says, no, the court order says we're supposed to agree on what weekend if you're doing a different weekend. You don't just get to pick, right?
Well, I do want to stop you on that one. That was my fault because I misinterpreted what it was actually reading. So I will own that this email was because I misinterpreted it and not fully understanding. But once I became aware, I deeply apologized for the miscommunication and
Thank you.
we freed it up.
Okay, good. And in fact, this is the first year you guys have worked with this particular parenting time order, right?
I mean,
It was put in place last summer.
yeah.
So there have been some hiccups.
I mean, quite a few.
Okay. But you've described that your daughter is suffering from not knowing if she's going to get to see you because he withheld her from you on one time. Is that right?
No, no. No, it was on 1, 2. There was 2 incidences. I apologize. 2 incidences.
So as you guys are swapping weekends around and trying to sort out a new parenting time schedule, you're saying twice he picked her up on your time from school?
Yes, he picked her up from school on my time, yes.
2 separate times.
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
I'm sorry, what?
When? I'm aware of the December of 2020 time. Was there
December
another time?
11th of 2020.
Yep.
And December 21st of 2020.
He picked her up December 21st of 2020?
I'm sorry, what? Not December 21st. December 21st, I had to leave work because he wouldn't give Jasmine to me. It's right here in the parenting time complaint form that I filed.
Well, sadly, friend of the court doesn't send those to us, so I don't know anything about that. Let's see. Okay. When you reach this agreement that Jasmine would go to school
I'm
down
sorry,
in
I can't hear. Can you say that again?
when you and Mr. Binham reached this agreement that Jasmine would go to school down in Lenawee County, you knew how far that was from where Mr. Binham lived, right?
Yes, I was aware.
Okay. And in fact, the two of you could have picked a school in between your houses so that Jasmine did not have a longer distance to drive to school. Is that right?
I mean, we could have, but I don't think, when you go to a private school,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to draw an objection there. What Ms. Dinky suggests is something that is a legal conclusion by Ms. Clark, that they somehow could pick some school district that they do not live in, that neither of them live in, that is not contiguous. There are a host of issues between ISD issues as well as school district issues and school choice issues that would prohibit them from being in various different institutions. So I can't suggest that there is a possible foundation for her to answer what might have or would have been. And I'd also just object in relevancy.
It's cross-examination. It's a fair question that there were potentially other options out there for school.
That I agree with, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Ms. Denke.
Now you're asking the judge to eliminate the Sunday overnights because you think the drive is too hard on her to come down on Monday morning. Is that right?
Well, I don't think it's just I don't know. I don't think it's just the drive. It's the drive. It's not, having the readiness of getting to school, how it's who's going to take me. That way there's more consistency that she will be home. She'll get showered. She'll be in her bed. She'll have her backpack. She'll have her lunch packed and she'll go to school.
And you're saying it's always going to be you taking her to school. You'll never get called into work or have to go to work at 7 a.m.
I've never said that. It would always be me, but I have people in place that help me and that know Jasmine. So
it's okay for Jasmine to go to school with other people, but the uncertainty of who will be bringing her to school on Monday mornings from Mr. Binham's house is the problem?
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I never agreed to when we agreed upon this court order that I would be the one to take Jasmine. I never said that I would actually be the one to take Jasmine. I never agreed on that. That's not me. Now, Mr. Binham did agree that he would be the one taking Jasmine to school on Monday so he could have that extra overnight with her and have that time with her.
Well, no, he's the one responsible for making her. Well, I'm not going to argue with you. Let's move on. In the summer, you've said Jasmine can't do 10 weeks with Mr. Binham. That would be bad. That's too long.
Not 10 whole weeks, no.
Okay. So given that there is 12 and a half weeks, whatever it is, during the summer, when you negotiated this agreement, how did you think he was going to get his 10 weeks in without doing several weeks in a row?
Well, I figured that we were going to communicate, and I figured at least when we spoke after this got entered, that it would be no more than 2 weeks at a time. Unfortunately, it was, unfortunately, it was not presented to me that way.
So if he did 2 weeks at 10 weeks, 2 weeks at a time, that would be 5 weeks in between. So now we're up to 15 weeks. How would that happen, that he could get 10 weeks in during the summer with only taking them 2 weeks at a time?
I don't understand your math, because if he gets her the minute that she gets out of school, so you do 2 weeks, and then I get a week, and then she does 2 weeks, and then I get a week, and then he does 2 more weeks, and then he takes her to school that first day of school. That's how I presumed that it was going to happen. But then the tutoring came about.
Okay. And your testimony was he's never taken her to gymnastics.
He's taken her once.
Okay.
Did he take her? I just asking, did he take her last week? Did your client tell you if he took her last week?
Usually the lawyers don't testify. Did you ask Mr. Binham if he was all right with you signing her up from gymnastics on his parenting time? Before you
I did. I actually have an email. Did you not get that email or see that email?
Again, I don't testify. It's been a long day. Let's try and just answer the questions.
Ms. Clark, as
Yeah,
your
Ms.
attorney,
Ms. Clark, you don't get to ask questions, Ms. Clark.
Aaron, you only get to answer the questions asked. If Ms. Dinky's asking you a question,
Okay.
I think what she's trying to ask you basically is, did you talk to him before you signed him up for gymnastics?
I did. He received an email, when it was, what time, where to be, the leotard that I sent to his house before when he was supposed to take Jasmine.
Okay. I think that email is actually in my exhibits that you're referring to. And you're saying that email was you asking him if you could schedule gymnastics during his time?
For
I'm
summer
gonna,
parenting time.
Let's find the exhibit first. So we're all looking at the same email.
Exhibit 8. Ms. Clark, is that the email that you're referring to? Where you
No,
talk
ma'am.
about,
This would have been May of this year.
okay. So where you say that you've attached the address, her class starts at this time, ends at this time. And you send
That was
where it
last
is.
year. That was October of last year.
Right. That's exhibit 8.
Okay. But that's not the email that I'm talking about.
Okay. Then perhaps I misunderstood. Ms. Clark, do you agree that there is an overpayment of child support that Mr. Binham paid to you?
Your Honor, I guess I'm going to have to object any questions outside of the scope of these proceedings as it relates to child support or overpayments or things of that nature. Financial aspects were not raised in our petition. If Ms. Dinkey's indicating that they did raise a recalculation request in their response, then I guess we're retroactively looking at a recalc going back to the date of filing, if the court ends up finding that a recalc would be appropriate.
Right?
I mean, are we raising child support or are we not raising child support? Because if we are, it should go back to the date of the filing, and we would want to ask all the questions associated with incomes of the parties throughout the whole course. Otherwise, what relevance does any child support have to do with a parenting time adjustment?
We raised in our answer to their motion an affirmative matter that there was an overpayment of child support. So there's $1,335 that Mr. Binham paid in child support, that when they went back and entered the last child support order, resulted in an overpayment. We indicated in our motion, friend of the court won't order that money returned without a court order.
Then that should be raised in a specific motion so we can address all the financial considerations, not just the parenting time motion and some.
I don't frankly understand that argument, Mr. Stimson. I think she raised it in the response to the motion. I wouldn't make her file a separate motion since you're already going to be here in front of me on this. I think the issue is there ended up being an overpayment. There isn't any other child supported issue, is there?
Not at this time, no.
There may be if the court changes parenting time by 76 overnights, but at this point, no one's asking to change the child support.
I thought I heard someone say earlier that there currently isn't any child support.
Child support set at 0 at this time?
All right, was that by stipulation or is that how
Yes.
the numbers shook out?
That's
That was
by
by
stipulation, based on information
Yeah.
that was part and parcel to our understanding at the time of the mediation.
All right. And is it your contention, Mr. Simpson, that if I were to order the change in parenting time that your client's requesting, that you would expect the court to send this to the friend of the court to do a child support calculation?
No, in fact, we're not asking it. I mean, just to be frank.
I didn't think so. That's what I
Right.
heard. That's what I thought I heard.
We
So the
didn't,
issue is simply there is a historical overpayment that Ms. Denke's asking me to address. I think I can do that.
okay. We understand.
Ms. Clark, you saw my exhibit 20 showing an overpayment.
Okay.
Are you contesting that there was an overpayment of child support?
Listen, this order was back in 2018. I have no idea about any of it. I'm not FOC, so I don't even know how to answer your question.
So when we raised it in our motion and then in our brief, you didn't go and check with FOC yourself.
Why would I? I don't know. I didn't know.
It's a simple question. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Redirect.
Aaron, let's talk a little bit about Ryan and some of the questions that were asked of you of that. Generally speaking, Ryan doesn't care for Jazz. Is that fair to say?
No. Ryan loves Jazz.
But he's not the day-to-day care provider.
But say that again, I apologize.
Let me say it this way. You and Ryan live together, right?
Yes.
And Jazz may look to him because you all live in the same house. Is that fair to say?
Right.
She looks to him for guidance and direction. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
And on occasion, he may have to take her to school because something comes up, and as life does.
Correct.
Someone she's comfortable with, that she acknowledges, that she has regularly in her life.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, you're the person that picks her up from school and drops her off at school.
Me or my nanny, depending on my work. Yes.
Okay. And that isn't the same situation as Mr. Binham. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
He doesn't live with and hasn't lived with his child's mother.
Judge, again, I'm going to object unless she has personal knowledge of who he's living with.
She does have personal knowledge. She testified previously that where he lives, and Mr. Burnham's address and who lives in the house, and she doesn't live there.
Actually, she testified that she doesn't know, but she thinks that he's at his mom's, and that certainly, based on even your own pleadings, has not been the entire case.
So the objection is that she has no personal knowledge of
The question
where
was,
the
he
mother
said-
of his other child lives.
the question was, has he ever lived with her? And she's saying no.
It's
And
not the
I'm
question.
objecting. Maybe I misunderstood your question. I
The question is,
apologize.
they don't currently live together.
Oh, I missed the currently. So if you said currently live together, I misunderstood.
Let me I'll just withdraw it so that we have a cleaner record and ask the question more directly, if you don't mind, Your Honor. Aaron, to the best of your knowledge, does Larry currently live with the mother of his other child?
No.
Does he currently live with the mother of his third child?
That would be me. No.
So Larry has 3 children
Yes.
by 3 different mothers,
Yes.
and he doesn't live with any of them that you're aware of.
Say that again. You cut out.
He doesn't live with any 3 of the mothers.
No, not to my knowledge. No.
So suggesting that she be driven back and forth by another mother who doesn't live with him is different than suggesting that she'd be driven back and forth occasionally by someone who lives with her regularly.
Correct.
Is it your understanding, based upon the records, that Jasmine spent most of her weekends with the mother of his other child, Miss Kim, I forget her last name?
Mackie. Yes. There have been times where I've had to pick her up over there.
So you know where she lives.
I do know where she lives. Yes.
So based upon the work records, you having to pick her up and FaceTime calls, it's your impression that Jasmine spent the majority of the time with Miss Mackey and not with Mr. Binham.
That is correct.
And did you address this with Mr. Binham?
I have, and I tried, and I'm told that it is none of my business.
No other questions at this time?
Okay, so let's, any other witnesses, Mr. Stimson?
No, I assume Miss Dinky will call Mr. Binham, and as long as she's willing to do that, I'll wait for cross.
That's my plan.
I'll let her call him.
All
I
right.
don't have any other witnesses.
Assuming the court needs to hear from him and hasn't concluded that there's not enough here to change parenting time.
Well, I do need to hear from him, but
That's
the one
fine.
thing I want to hear from him most about is when is he working?
Mhm.
And is he still in an arrangement where the child is spending most of the child's weekends with someone other than Mr. Binham? Yes, I do want to hear about that.
Good.
So let's address that first.
Okay.
Mr. Binham, raise your right hand, please.
Judge, I
You
wonder
do
if we
swear
could
to
take a quick bathroom break before we get going?
Oh, of course, sorry. Let's do that.
Larry Keith Binham Jr.
Go ahead, Ms. Denke.
Thank you. Mr. Bynum, I want to start first with, are you currently employed?
No, ma'am.
Did you leave your position at the Department of Corrections?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your choice or their choice?
My choice.
And why did you leave that job?
I didn't like the way I was being treated.
Your current plans for the summer in terms of your employment and the care of Jasmine are what?
Actually, I thought about doing just like DoorDash for a while because I do have the two kids that'll both be doing some type of summer school. So I'll have some type of income and be able to take them both.
Let's go back though. When you were working at the Department of Corrections, did you have a typical shift that you worked?
Well, my shift has changed twice because when I was originally got hired, I was a CNA and then I moved to the kitchen. So the hours switched there. And then when COVID hit the prison, the hours had jumped a lot and it's not like I can go, no, I don't want to work.
Sure. So let's start with when you were a CNA, what were the hours?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. One of those.
And how long did you work those hours?
11 months. 10.
And was it 5 days a week, 7 days a week?
Oh my God, it's been so long. I want to say 5.
Okay. And then when you shifted to the kitchen, what were your hours?
4 a.m. to noon. Actually, it was noon to 6. Then it got switched to 4 a.m. to noon.
Okay. And how long did you work those hours?
2 years. Yeah, almost 2 years.
So if you were working on a weekend when you had Jasmine,
Mhm.
what time would you typically get home?
12:20,
Okay.
12:30, depending on the traffic.
And then you would be with her until she went to bed that night?
Yeah.
And then at some point would go back to work?
Yeah.
Okay. Where is it that Jasmine sleeps at night if you're working?
Well, if she's staying with my mom, she sleeps on her trundle bed. And if she's staying with Kim, she sleeps in the bed with Alexis.
Okay. And why would she be back and forth between your mom and with Kim?
It's her choice, depending on where she's in the mood to go. That's pretty much it. There's no real.
Are you with her until she goes to sleep?
Yeah, most of the time, yes. I'd be lying if I said all the time.
And does she enjoy spending time with her sister?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you, on the weekends that you have Jasmine, do you also typically have time with your other daughter?
They're together.
And what is
Whenever
her
I
name?
got one, Alexis.
I'm sorry?
Whenever I had 90% of the time, if I got one, I got both. Her name is Alexis.
They're very close?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're very close in age as well, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were staying in a hotel for a period of time too, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why were you staying in a hotel?
Because they moved a lot of us there because of fear of catching COVID. What the heck? They moved a lot of us there due to fear of catching COVID. Then I caught COVID.
You did have COVID. Did you end up hospitalized as a result?
Yeah, for almost 2 weeks.
Did you notify Ms. Clark that you or Ms. Mackey or Alexis had been exposed to COVID?
Yes, ma'am. I called and I text, but the main one I sent it was in a text, and I went through a big spiel or whatever.
Was that before Jasmine would have gone to school on?
Yes.
Okay.
March
Did Ms.
26th.
Clark, I'm sorry, did Ms. Clark send her to school anyway?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What did you do in response to that?
I called the school.
And they kicked Jasmine out because she was obviously a significant risk at that point?
Yes, ma'am.
When you were staying at the hotel, was Jasmine sleeping at the hotel with you?
No, near like the last month or so I was there, depending on what we did. And if we all fell asleep, they did, but I didn't use my sleep app. So it was whatever. I didn't use my sleep machine.
Okay, so why can't you sleep? I mean, you've already had COVID. Why can't you sleep in the same house as your daughter with the CPAP machine?
Originally, the doctor was like, if anyone is at your house, you can't use your sleep machine. And I don't know the technical terms, but if you use your sleep machine, it goes in the air. COVID is in the air when you have your sleep machine. So actually, I really don't use it to this day because I'm paranoid.
So if anyone else is sleeping around you in your house, you don't use the sleep machine?
Haven't used in a while. I gave my whole family COVID, so it's not something I'm trying to, anyways.
The work schedule that you had before you quit the Department of Corrections had you going in after Jasmine went to sleep at night,
Yeah, 4 a.m.
and then had you home by noon
Yeah, a little after,
or
but yes.
12:30. Sorry. So
Well,
you were
no,
able to spend the vast bulk of the time that she was awake with her. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we've heard Ms. Clark testify that she wasn't seeing you on FaceTime when she would FaceTime Jasmine, so you weren't there. Is that accurate?
To an extent, but it's only accurate because a lot of times she would call if I was going to get something to eat or I ran an errand or blah, blah, blah. So she would then have to FaceTime Kimberly or my mom. But other than that, she FaceTimed me.
And you would be the one then giving the phone to Jasmine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We heard testimony from Ms. Clark as well that she took Jasmine to the doctors and your medical insurance had been canceled.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Jasmine double covered? So Ms. Clark also has health insurance on her?
Yes, ma'am.
So there wasn't an issue with her getting treatment or having that covered by insurance?
No, Miss Clark has insurance on her.
Okay. We've also heard that your mother's home is a 2-bedroom apartment or 2-bedroom. Is that correct?
No, it's a 3-bedroom.
Okay. There are still a lot of people there.
That is true. Yes, ma'am.
Where does Jasmine sleep?
Her and Alexa sleep in a trundle. One bed's here and the other one rolls out, so they sleep like that. I don't know what it's called.
So it's like a bunk bed, but it
rolls
in
in.
and out?
Brundle,
Okay.
trundle, something like that.
Okay. And do the two of them share their own room, or are there other kids in that room?
No, just them two.
Okay. And when she is sleeping at Ms. Mackey's house, who's in that room?
She shares a bed with her sister.
Okay. So are there other places that she typically sleeps other than, I mean, excluding vacations, things like that?
No.
How long has Ms. Mackey been in Jasmine's life?
Pretty much since the beginning.
And how long has your mother been in Jasmine's life?
Since the beginning.
Do you use any other caregivers besides those two?
Periodically, I will ask my oldest child, who is 21 now, For the most part, no, unless she go, like I said, unless she stays the night at a friend's house or something. But for majority of caregiving, or however you want to phrase it, it's my mom and Kim.
Okay. Are you making plans for Jasmine for the 10 weeks that you have her during the summer?
Yes, but those got adjusted. Originally, I was trying to get her into Y-Day camp, and I don't know how that's going to work, because when I was able to go speak to the school myself, they reiterated a bunch of things that I wasn't informed on yet when I went to Jasmine's school. So now I'm trying to adjust that schedule and get them both to their summer school.
Okay. Have you had some difficulties in communicating with the Lenawee school?
Yes. One of them was finally resolved the last time I went in there. I think it was on the 3rd. I showed the principal how I have tried to email the teacher, and it would never go through. I would get the, for those who have an iPhone, I would get the red light, yellow light, green light saying it never went through. So I talked to her, asked her a few questions. I asked her, I said, is she mad at me or not like me? And she looked at the email and found out the way she sent it. And you know, when you send somebody an email, you just click on it, you can send it back. It wouldn't work. It was missing a letter in her name. So that was part of the reason we didn't communicate as regularly as I would like, because every email I tried to respond came back.
Okay.
So, but we got that fixed on the 3rd.
And when you had the opportunity to meet with the teachers, you said that's changed your plans for the summer?
Yeah. I tried to go see what Miss Clark informed me about. I was worried about some of the, like the whole medicine thing and this is that. And I went and talked to him. I went to talk to her teacher, her principal, and her educational therapist. And they told me.
Objection. Hearsay.
It's not offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It's offered to show why the effect on the hearer and why he's doing what he's doing.
That's not at all. It's offered for the exact statement that they're about to make.
I won't make it. I went and talked to those
He's
three.
explaining why he's making different plans after meeting with them.
He's saying he's about to testify to what they said.
I can allow it for the limited purpose that it's being offered for.
Go ahead, Mr. Binham.
Oh, sorry. From the conversation the three of us had, it seems that we might be moving Jasmine to the 1st grade, but it better if she does do some type of summer schooling to reassure and build upon and keep going what she had already improved on.
Did you attempt to work with Ms. Clark to have a meeting with the school to talk about whether or not she should go on to 1st grade or get held back?
Yeah. And then when she informed me of the meeting that they had, I went again and set up another one on the day Jazzy graduated from kindergarten.
Okay. Did you talk to the kindergarten teacher about Jasmine needing to get tested for ADHD?
I asked them if they had suggested that to Miss Clark, and she responded to me, no.
Again,
Ms. Clark testified specifically to that, so I would say they opened up the door to that particular testimony.
the
Judge.
door of hearsay.
She testified, the kindergarten teacher told me that she thought it would be a good idea to get Jasmine tested for
If we
ADHD.
wanted to question the kindergarten teacher, we should call the kindergarten teacher about what she did or didn't say, how she did or didn't present it.
In any event, both statements as to what both Ms. Clark's testimony as to what the kindergarten teacher said or didn't say, and Mr. Binham's testimony as to what the kindergarten teacher did or didn't say, they're both hearsay. So I won't put any weight to either one.
Have you experienced the kinds of problems with Jasmine that Ms. Clark described?
No.
has it been fairly consistent throughout the time that the two of you have been parenting your daughter that Ms. Clark has had more difficulty with her behaviors than you have?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to your residence at your mom's. Does Jasmine have room to play? Is there room outside to play during the summer? Is that an environment that you feel is appropriate for your daughter?
Yes. Front yard, backyard, room to play.
And why are you currently staying at your mom's house?
Since I left my job, but another reason I left my apartment is because I was paying almost $1,000 a month for an apartment, and I can get a house for that. So my objective is to get a house.
Okay. You said that you've switched your plans because originally you were looking at having both girls in the Y camp. But now you want to try and do something different after your meeting with the school. What is it that you're going to try and do differently?
Finagle both, make sure they both get on their tutoring sessions, their Zoom sessions. The principal, the teacher, and the educational lady gave me some sites and things to follow up on. So I'm going to try and do that as well.
Okay. Do you work with Jasmine on school-related issues?
Yes.
And do her other caregivers also do that?
Yes.
Do Jasmine and Alexis enjoy working on school things together?
Sometimes.
Two busy 5-year-olds?
Yeah.
Okay.
But for the most part, they do okay.
Judge, I can go through my exhibits now and hit some of the other points. I wanted to try and focus on the highlights that the court had indicated you wanted to hear about.
Let's have Mr. Stimson cross-examine Mr. Binham on what he's testified to so far.
Mr. Binham,
Yes, sir.
You testified that your typical hours were, for the last 2 years, were from when to when?
They went from 6 to 6:30, 11:30 to 6:30, and 4 a.m. to noon, all 3 shifts.
So the last 2 years, though, however, you've been doing a 4 a.m. to noon shift. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so if you were to be working over, meaning past your normal release time, it would be afternoon. It'd be like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever time they released you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So when I look at your employment records over the last year, you're pretty regularly working overtime.
Yes, and you can also see that they had me at a different prison because they were so short-staffed. So there's nothing I can't say I'm not coming.
I'm not suggesting you can tell the Department of Corrections any more than I can. But you worked 8 hours of overtime on January 2nd. That would have put you from what you would have said 4 a.m. to almost 8 p.m. on a day you would have had Jazzy. So you
Yep.
wouldn't have seen her that day, really. You worked again the next Sunday, another 8 hours of overtime. So you would have worked 4 a.m. to again 8 p.m. on the Sunday you would have had Jazzy, right?
Yes, sir.
And then again the next weekend, and again the next weekend, again the next weekend, you worked overtime. About 8 hours every weekend that you had Jazzy, you worked 8 hours of overtime each Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, sir. That's what's in front of you. Yes, sir.
So you didn't really have any time to spend with Jazz since you worked from 4 a.m. to almost 8 p.m. every weekend.
During that period of time. Yes, sir.
But you never told Miss Clark that you would have no time with your daughter?
I never told Miss Clark what?
That you wouldn't be there for any of your visitations?
I wouldn't be there. What am I supposed to be telling her? I don't understand.
You'd be telling her that you're not living in
That
your
I worked a lot?
That you worked all the time that Jazz is supposed to be there.
Yes, I did work a lot.
And you worked all the time that Jazz was supposed to be with you.
Yes, sir. You are correct.
So she really didn't spend any time with you.
During those times, yes, sir.
Well, it's almost every weekend from pretty much the fall
mean
through
during
the
the
spring
whole
when you
COVID?
quit.
Yeah,
It's almost
the
every
whole
weekend,
COVID.
sir. It's almost every
Yes, sir.
weekend.
Yeah, you can't both talk at the same time.
Yes, sir. I apologize, sir.
So you worked almost overtime almost every weekend that Jazz is supposed to be with you from the fall of 2020 till you quit your job 2 weeks ago.
No, because we hired people and they reduced the hours. So about the last 5 or 6 months, they started cutting back on hours. And my checks and hours sheet should also show that as well.
Well,
So during the peak of COVID at the prison, you are correct. I did work a lot and I was around any of my family. Yes, sir.
so until about March of this year.
I'm not looking directly at it. February, March, somewhere in there.
So you really didn't have your daughter with you from September through March of 2020 to 2021 because you were working.
And I was sick. And we're not allowed to be anyone. I mean, you're right. But due to COVID, yes, sir.
It was, all right. So you gave up your apartment because you weren't staying there. So she didn't have a place that was her own. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I gave up my apartment.
You said that's to buy a house so you could save money.
Yes, because I was paying a lot of money.
Then you quit your job. How are you saving money if you quit your job?
I had difficulties at my job for the way I was being treated. So it was safer to quit. You can also check my work history. I don't go long without a job. So, and also due to the fact that summer vacation and I can spend time with both of them and help them with their learning that I wasn't informed on, it kind of worked out.
It worked out right before this hearing that you quit your job, so you had plenty of flexibility.
Yes, sir.
But that's not a sustainable model, fair to say.
What's not a sustainable model?
You being unemployed.
Being unemployed? No, sir.
You can't do that forever, is what I'm getting at. You're going to have to go get a job.
Yes, sir.
And will it again affect your ability to see your daughter?
I hope COVID doesn't hit again, sir. I truly do. For those of us who don't have the luxury of whatever it is that you're trying to insinuate, I hope it never comes back around and then I probably won't have that problem. Thank you.
Did you let Miss Clark know that you weren't there
That I was aware.
with your daughter for pretty much 4 months?
Miss Clark knew. We do communicate enough for Miss Clark to know where Jasmine is and what's going on.
Sir, that's not my question. Did you tell Miss Clark that you weren't at home and
That I was
Jasmine
working?
was with others?
Yes.
Sir, let me ask the question all the way out, if you don't mind, because we're trying to create a good, clean record. Did
Yes,
you
sir.
tell Miss Clark that your daughter would not be with you, that she would be with other people for these weekends that you were supposed to be exercising parenting time?
Yes and no. If I was required to, if they mandated me, I didn't stop in the middle of mandation and go, oh, wait, let me call Erin to make sure she knows that Jasmine's not with me. No, I did not.
They're not all mandated. You volunteered for some. Is that true?
Nope, you can check that too. Most of them were mandated. We were down 6 people in the kitchen. Yes, sir.
And you were down 6 people for months.
About 2 of them, almost 3. And I went to a different prison for 2.5 months.
Did you tell Miss Clark that her daughter would be at an ex-girlfriend's house or your mom's house or where she would be?
Yes, because those are the 2 numbers that she has. And it's not just a girl's house. That's her grandmother. And
I'm not trying to pass aspersions on the grandma's ability to care for her grandkid. That's not where I'm headed with this. I'm asking whether you communicated at all to Miss Clark that Jasmine would be at this place or that place at any given time when she wasn't with you.
Yes, Miss Clark knew the only 2 places Jasmine goes is my mom's or Kimberly.
So you told her, you text her, and you can produce those texts.
You asked me, did I communicate that to her? I told you yes. Now you're asking me, did I text that to her? Is that 2 separate questions?
Well, I'm I'm asking you, how did you communicate it to her? Did you call her? Did you text her? Did you email her that Jazz will be at my mom's tonight, Jazz will be at my girlfriend's tonight?
I don't have a girlfriend. And if you want specifics, no, I did not tell her every night where Jasmine would be. That's a totally different question than what you asked me.
So you didn't tell her any time where she was. You just assumed because she knew that she'd be at one of these two places.
I didn't tell her at any time. No, no, because I didn't know every time I had Jasmine, I had to clarify where Jazzy was every time I had her. So you are correct. No, I did not.
Did you know where Jazzy was?
Who are we talking about again? What's her name?
When you were gone, did you know where your daughter was? Did you know which house she was at?
Yes, sir. Okay. The only time I don't know where my daughter is when she's with her mother.
Well, and you call pretty frequently on the weekends that she's with Miss Clark. Is that true?
No.
No, you don't call?
No,
You
sir.
said you don't call frequently. You said no, then you said you don't call. I mean, those are two different questions.
Do you call her?
No, I try not to. It is a very rare thing that I call Miss Clark.
When you do, Miss Clark has Jazz call you back. Fair enough?
Not all the time.
A fair amount of the time.
Mm-mm.
You disagree?
Yes.
How many times have you dropped Jazz off to school on Monday morning? You personally?
Only a couple.
So in all of the school year, a handful of times you dropped her off?
Yeah, until we came up with rotating schedules. Yes, sir. But you also have to remember when the court order was put in, I was a SENA. I had regular days off. I've been schedules switched 2 more times.
But you've been in the same 4 a.m. to noon schedule for the last 2 years.
And that also just turned into a rotating schedule about 8 months ago.
I'm sorry, you've been on the 4 a.m. to noon. Your previous testimony was that you've been on the 4 a.m. to noon shift for the last
For almost
2
2 years. Yes, sir.
Okay. So the last year of school, the only year of school that Jazz has had,
Yes, sir.
a handful, 2 times you dropped her off to school?
No, more than 2, because that's what I was trying to tell you. I'm on a rotating schedule. So this week, if I had Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, I'd take her that Monday. But the next weekend, I would have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So prior to the rotating schedule, no, there was only a couple times that I'd taken her. But since the rotating schedule, the time that I took her on Monday has increased, if that answers your question.
Would you say 4 times in the last school year you've dropped her off to school?
More than 4, yeah.
How many times? 5?
Sure.
Okay, so about 5, give or take 1, of the how many times were you supposed to drop her off? 20, 30, 40?
Judge, I'm
Um,
going to
that we
object
have.
to the supposed to drop her off. It was his responsibility to get her to school every Monday, and she got there, as the court could see from the attendance record that was stipulated to. She got there on her Mondays, on time.
I'll withdraw the question and ask a different question. You asked to drop her off on Monday so that you had that time to spend with her, that commute. Is that true?
Yes, I'm assuming due to the schedule I had at that time. Yes, sir.
Well, July of 2020, COVID was in full effect, and you asked to be able to drive her to school, and you didn't drive her to school, but maybe 5 times.
Yes, sir.
Where do you currently work?
Is that true? I'm unemployed. I thought
Do
you
you have,
said
do you have any health insurance? You pay
Yes.
Cobra? Okay. What's your health insurance?
I'm waiting to call back to hear a call back from Medicaid.
Okay, so you're signing up for Medicaid?
Yes, until I get something. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you pay rent?
At my mom's house? No, not right now.
No further questions.
So, as I indicated before Ms. Danke began her questioning, the thing that concerned me most was Mr. Bynum's work schedule, and how much of his parenting time he was actually able to avail himself of, since he's no longer working that schedule. Frankly, I'm concerned not with what happened for the period of COVID when he's mandated these extra hours. I'm concerned about going forward. Going forward, he's fully available to exercise all of his parenting time. There isn't anything else I've heard that convinces me that I should do anything to change parenting time, except since there seems to be lack of clarity whether Mr. Binham gets 10 consecutive weeks under this agreement. I don't think he should get 10 consecutive weeks. I don't think Ms. Clark should have to go 10 weeks without seeing her child. Mr. Binham doesn't go 10 weeks without seeing his child, even though he has weekends. That part troubles me. Since there's 12 weeks in a summer, his time should be broken up, I would say, in 3 segments. So 3 weeks, 3, 3 and 4, or 3, 4 and 3, or 4, 3 and 3, whatever it is, so that Ms. Clark gets to see her child without having to go 10 weeks without seeing her. That's the only change, based on the testimony I've heard today, that I'm inclined to make.
What about the request for the overpayment of support? Or to have that refunded?
I realized the parties agreed when they did their stipulation that there wouldn't be any child support. Clearly, that was a huge benefit to Mr. Binham, because he would have been paying child support during that time period. I think he's gotten enough of a break that I don't think there should be any repayment of the child support.
Judge, I'm not sure why you think he would have been paying support during that time period, given the difference in the cost of health insurance and those expenses that they consider.
I'm just assuming, I guess I really don't know what their respective wages are, but if he's working that kind of overtime, he would have had a significant amount of income during a time period when Ms. Clark has the majority of the parenting time. I haven't done a calculation. I'm just assuming, based upon that he would have been paying some level of child support.
Your Honor would have been correct. When we originally agreed to this, there were some assumptions that were made, or representations that were made, that were later found out not to be fairly accurate. And the $80,000+ a year that Mr. Binham was making would have resulted likely in a large amount of child support being paid. Ms. Clark earns about 50, he earned about 80. Even if they kept 50-50, 182.5, she had healthcare costs, he had healthcare costs, and there would have been significant child support. We did not seek it. We're not trying to seek it. Our biggest problem has been he wasn't exercising until all of a sudden right now, we find out like a week ago or 2 weeks ago that he quit his job right before our hearing, so that we are clear that the adjustment makes no sense. But he's going to have to start a job again. He's going to have to go to work again. And that's part of the reason we're really asking that this Sunday overnight to Monday during school seems a bit cumbersome. He hasn't been exercising that aspect. He hasn't been doing it. MCL 722.27A7 talks about the factors specifically that the court wants to look at in adjusting parenting time, and factors E, F, and G, the inconvenience and burden on the child, whether the parent can reasonably be expected to exercise it, and then actually whether the parent has been exercising it, are all 3 factors that clearly fall. That we would ask that court to at least open the door and reconsider the thought of that Sunday night. We understand the rest of it. We somewhat get that point, and I don't think she really wants to take too much away. She thinks that perhaps the adjustment we're asking for is the best case, but understands that there's probably not a lot of harm to Jasmine by maintaining a lot more summertime with Mr. Binham or the weekend schedules. That Sunday night, her position's always been that that's really not been good for her at all. And that has a minimal effect. We're really talking about a few hours of time rather than the overnight count.
it allows him to put his daughter to bed at night, which is a big deal.
Which he hasn't done in a year.
And again, if I had heard that Mr. Bynum was continuing with this same schedule, I likely would have made some adjustment. He's not. This is the deal that the parties were able to mediate and achieve. I haven't heard enough today to convince me to change it.
Thank you.
Ms.
And I
Clark
think
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
Ms. Clark had picked some weeks this summer, so I'm not, based on the court's ruling, do you want Mr. Clark or Mr. Bynum to go back through and pick some segments, or honor what Ms. Clark has already selected?
Ms. Clark, do you have planned vacations?
If her weeks that she's picked end up breaking up the time so that she's not going more than 3 or 4 weeks without seeing her child, and those work for everybody. And granted, there's nothing in the order that says when his 10 weeks fall. So
Right.
let's get it fixed. Let's get it fixed now so we don't have to come back. Ms. Clark, go ahead.
We do have a vacation planned the week of Father's Day. Mr. Binham was aware of that, and that was, we're taking my whole family camping. So if we can just stick with that week, and then moving forward, we can do 3 weeks in a row, that'll be fine.
Does he still get his Father's Day?
Yes, absolutely. We alternate Father's Day. So he'll get her in the morning, and then I'll pick her up at night.
You don't alternate Father's Day.
They have it, like, the beginning part of the day, they go with one parent, the other part of the day go with the other. So that's what I understand.
Like, he still gets his Father's Day. We arranged that she would come home on the 18th. We were meeting in Chelsea, and then on Father's Day, we were meeting in Chelsea for him to have Father's Day.
And so the weeks that
Are-
you've identified that you wanted, Ms. Clark, are what?
The week of June, so it'd be the 18th to the 26th, right, Larry? That's what we talked about?
And you guys are both okay with it?
Well, I missed that earlier when she said she didn't pick them. They're picked right here. It's also July 9th through July 16th.
And those work for everybody? I realize that results in a longer break later, but Ms. Clark, if those are the 2 weeks you want, and Mr. Bynum, you're okay with them, that solves the problem.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. And like I said, I'm not going to order her to refund child support when in fact, Mr. Bynum, from everything that I see, has been given a significant break in child support.
Judge, do you want Mr. Bynum to pick his summer weeks, so those 3 and 4 week blocks, by April 15th, starting with next year, so that she's got that notice in advance?
Would it make sense, Susan, just to go 3-1, 3-1 unless they agree otherwise?
Well, because it's 10 weeks, it ends up being 1 week is 4 weeks. So that would depend on
The
what
last
he's got
part would be
planned.
4. I mean,
If it would be, well, it might be that he's got a vacation in July that he wants to do 4 weeks
Well,
in July.
that would be the other, that would be unless they agree otherwise. That's what I'm saying.
I was just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
he should pick his 10 weeks, honoring the courts, nothing longer than a 4 week block. So 4, 3, and 3, or 3, 3, and 4. And notify her by April 15th so that she's got those dates. Just like most parents who get the summer parenting time have to pick their weeks.
With the understanding and the strong encouragement that if there is a need to adjust that, regardless of what the order says, be reasonable.
Mhm.
I mean, talk to each other. What goes around comes around. It's okay to adjust these things. for life circumstances, but if you can't agree, it's always a good idea to have it written down.
I guess that's why I
So
was,
3-1-3-1 sounds like a good plan to me.
thank you, Mayor.
All right, then who's going to prepare this order? Ms. Danke?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, everyone.